We talk so much about the hardware of the EV revolution. We get obsessed with battery chemistry, drag coefficients, all that stuff.
The panel
The
gaps.
panel gaps, exactly. But I was going through the sources for today, and it just hit me that we almost never talk about the software of the experience.
And you don't mean the code in the dashboard.
No, not at all. I mean the human software, the psychology of, actually living with one of these things day to day.
It's the difference between the spec sheet and the grocery run, right?
Yeah.
On paper, the car goes 300 miles. In reality, it's raining you forgot to plug in last night, and the one public charger at the mall is, of course, broken.
Right. And that gap, that space between the theoretical perfection of an EV and the messy reality of life, that's where range anxiety usually comes up. But I want to push back on that term a little. I feel like anxiety suggests it's like an irrational fear. But if you're stranded on the I-5 with a dead battery, that's not anxiety.
No, that's just a logistical failure. It's
Yeah.
a real problem.
It's a logistical failure.
It's not just fear, it's friction. We're trying to map a century-old behavior, the gas station, fill up and go, onto this completely different energy model, and the infrastructure just isn't there yet.
Which brings us perfectly to the subject of today's deep dive. We aren't looking at a car maker.
Yeah.
We're not looking at a huge charging network like Electrify America. We're looking at a very specific, very localized entity that seems to be trying to, well, hack that friction.
Okay.
We're unpacking the digital footprint of the Sacramento Mobile EV Charging Resource Hub.
It's a descriptive name, I'll give them that.
It isn't it? No marketing fluff, just function.
Yeah.
And our source material today is really just their digital presence. Their website, sacramentomobileevecharging.com, and their YouTube channel at Sacramento Mobile EV Charging.
Okay.
Now, at first glance, this might just look like a local business listing. But when you start peeling back the layers of how they position themselves, it actually says a lot about where the EV industry is going.
I completely agree. If you look closely, they're not just selling a charge, they're selling a safety net. And this whole hub identity, it's a direct response to how fragmented the market is right now.
Okay, let's unpack that, because mobile EV charging sounds amazing on paper.
The pizza delivery of electrons.
The pizza delivery of electrons, I love that. But I have to play devil's advocate here for a second. Is this actually a viable model? I mean, thermodynamically, economically? Driving a heavy vehicle filled with energy to dispense that energy into another heavy vehicle, doesn't that just add, like, a massive inefficiency to the whole system?
That is the classic criticism, and, if we were talking about this 5 years ago, I'd probably agree with you.
Okay.
If you're just driving a diesel generator around to top people off because they were lazy, that's a net negative for the environment, for your wallet, for everything.
Right.
But look at the context clues in the source material. They're not positioning this as a replacement for your home wall connector. It's not for the daily top-up.
So it's more of a gap filler?
It's gap-filling infrastructure.
Yeah.
Exactly. Think about the edge cases. You're a fleet manager, and one of your delivery vans just died 3 miles from the depot.
Well, that's a nightmare.
It's a total nightmare. Towing an EV is incredibly complex. You can't just, put it in neutral easily. You need flatbeds, dollies. It's expensive. It's time-consuming.
Right, you can't just tow it with a rope. The motors generate electricity when they spin. You'll fry the system.
You'll fry the system. So a mobile charging truck that can show up, dump 20 miles of range into the battery in 15 minutes and get that vehicle moving again. That's not a luxury.
Yeah.
That's critical operational support. And the economics change completely when you compare the cost of a mobile charge to the cost of a tow truck and a whole lost day of work.
That makes a ton of sense. So it's more like an insurance product. But let's stick with that name. Sacramento Mobile EV Charging Resource Hub. Why hub? Why not just service? Service implies a transaction. Hub implies, I don't know, gravity, something bigger.
Hub implies aggregation. I mean, think about the user journey right now for an EV driver in trouble. It's a scavenger hunt.
Yeah.
You've got one app to find the charger, another to pay for it. You're checking a forum to see if it even works. And then you call roadside assistance when it fails. It's totally disjointed.
So by calling themselves a resource hub, they're signaling they want to centralize that whole experience.
Yes. They're trying to be the Swiss Army knife.
Okay.
And the source material points to this, the fact they have a YouTube channel alongside the service site. It suggests they're bridging that gap between being an infrastructure provider and an educator. A tow truck driver doesn't give you a tutorial on battery health.
A hub does.
A hub does.
That brings us to the digital side. We have the URL, sacramentomobileevecharging.com. It's a bit of a mouthful, isn't it? Feels very 1999 SEO.
It does, but in this specific vertical, I think that is a highly strategic choice.
How so?
Think about search intent.
You mean panic Googling.
Precisely, panic Googling. If you are stranded on the side of the road in Sacramento with 1% battery, or you're not searching for some clever brand name like Volts or Zap,
Yeah.
you are typing exactly what you need into that search bar. Sacramento Mobile EV charging.
So the domain name itself is the marketing strategy. It literally matches the crisis query.
It's what's called an exact match domain. It signals immediate relevance. It tells you, and the search engine, we do exactly what you're looking for. It just cuts through all the noise. And in a moment of stress, clarity is everything.
But then they pair that super utilitarian website with a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
At Sacramento Mobile EV Charging. This is the part that really stood out to me.
Yeah.
Usually, utility providers are faceless.
Yeah.
I pay my electric bill. I don't watch their vlog. Why does a mobile charger need a video strategy?
It goes back to the novelty of the tech. We are still in the early majority phase of adoption. People are skeptical. And frankly, the industry has had some reliability issues, broken chargers, incompatible plugs in ACS versus CCS, adapters that get stuck.
It's a Wild West out there.
It is. So if I'm going to pay someone to come hook up a high voltage cable to my $60,000 car, I need to trust them. I need to know this isn't just some guy with a modified generator in the back of his pickup who's going to fry my onboard computer.
That's a huge point. Trust verification.
Exactly. And video is the ultimate verification tool. The YouTube channel lets them say, look, here's our truck, here's our equipment, here's us successfully charging a Model Y, here's a Rivian.
It's show, don't tell.
Show, don't tell. It lowers that psychological barrier. If I can see the process, I'm way less likely to think I'm getting scammed.
Right.
And it serves that resource hub mission we talked about. They can use that channel for education, how to unlock a stuck charge port, what to do if your screen goes black. It establishes authority. If they give me free, useful advice on YouTube, I'm going to trust them when I actually need to pay for the rescue service.
It's just smart content marketing, but for a utility. I want to pivot, though, to the geographical constraint. Sacramento.
The location is everything.
Why limit yourself? If you have this great digital hub, why not go for California mobile charging? Why plant the flag so specifically in Sacramento?
Because unlike software, energy is subject to the laws of physics and traffic. You can't scale a mobile fleet instantly. If you're promising a 30-minute arrival time, you cannot be serving the entire Bay Area. You need density.
So it's like the 15-minute grocery delivery concept, but for power?
Correct. But there's a bigger context here with Sacramento specifically. You have to look at the regulatory landscape. California has the 2035 mandate, no new gas cars sold after 2035.
Right.
Sacramento is the capital of that policy.
So the adoption rate there is probably higher.
It's much higher than the national average. You've got government fleets converting to electric, you've got tons of early adopters, but you also have the Central Valley heat.
Oh, right. Batteries hate heat.
Batteries hate heat. Extreme heat kills your range, and it puts this massive stress on the grid in the summer. So Sacramento is essentially a stress test lab for the future of EVs.
That's interesting.
A resource hub there is facing challenges that a hub in, say, Seattle or Maine just wouldn't face.
So the local aspect isn't just about travel time, it's about local knowledge.
Yes. If I'm a Sacramento EV driver, I want a resource that understands that I-80 traffic isn't just normal traffic, or that when it's 105 degrees, my range estimate is basically lying to me.
A generic national hotline wouldn't know.
No way. A local hub does.
Yeah.
It grounds the digital entity in a physical reality. We are here, we know this grid, we know this weather.
And it creates a moat,
Yeah.
right? It's very hard for some big national competitor to just swoop in and replicate that hyperlocal trust and efficiency overnight.
Exactly.
So if we pull all these threads together, the mobile logistics, the hub aggregation strategy, the Sacramento focus, and the digital trust building, what are we actually looking at? Is this just a small business, or is this a signal of a whole new layer of infrastructure?
I think it's absolutely a signal. We're moving away from the dumb pipe model of energy where you just plug in and pay. We're moving toward a service layer.
What's a service layer? Explain that.
Well, think about it. The stationary chargers will always be the backbone, but they're brittle. They break. They get blocked by other cars. They're in the wrong places. Entities like this Sacramento hub, they're the connective tissue. They are the flexible layer that sits on top of that concrete infrastructure to handle all the messiness of real life.
It makes the system resilient.
Resilience is the key word. If we want mass adoption, if we want my grandmother to feel comfortable driving an EV, we can't just tell her, oh, check the app. We need to be able to tell her, there is a hub, there are people, there is a safety net.
It's kind of like the privatization of the AAA model, but just for the unique quirks of high-voltage batteries.
And way more tech forward. AAA was built for the mechanical age tires, transmissions. This resource hub model is built for the digital age, software updates, battery chemistry, and YouTube tutorials.
Let's talk business model for a second. We touched on fleets. Do you think that's the real play here? Because I have a hard time believing that individual consumers are going to call often enough to keep a whole fleet of mobile charging trucks profitable.
That is the unspoken reality in the source material, I think. While the YouTube channel might be consumer-facing, building brand awareness, the actual mobile charging service is almost certainly targeting B2B to keep the lights on.
So delivery vans, rideshare fleets, that sort of thing.
Exactly. Imagine you run a logistics company in Sacramento with 50 electric vans. Maybe you don't have enough chargers at your depot, or the grid connection goes down.
Yeah.
Having a mobile resource hub on retainer to come in and blast charge your fleet so you can make your morning deliveries, that is incredibly valuable.
So the consumer, the person panic Googling on the highway, they're just the tip of the iceberg.
I would wager so. The consumer side builds the reputation, the fleet side pays the bills, but the resource hub branding is brilliant because it covers both. It lets them pivot between roadside rescue and grid support service.
It's a clever hedge.
It is, and it solves the utilization problem. If your truck isn't rescuing a stranded Tesla, it's topping off an Amazon van. It keeps the asset moving.
I want to circle back to the YouTube aspect one more time because I think there's a broader lesson there for anyone listening who works in these emerging tech fields.
Okay.
We often assume the tech just speaks for itself. It's an EV charger. You know what it does. But this entity is acting like a media company.
We are seeing this trend everywhere. Every company is a media company. But for infrastructure, it's vital.
No.
The technology is invisible. You can't see electricity.
Right.
You can't see the software handshake between the car and the charger. Video makes the invisible visible.
And it humanizes it.
It humanizes it. And let's be honest, the EV space can be a little elitist, a little inaccessible.
Just a lot of jargon.
So much jargon. If you don't know, you aren't part of the club. A YouTube channel that breaks things down, that just shows you the nuts and bolts of mobile charging in Sacramento. It democratizes the knowledge. It says, this is for everyone.
Which brings us to the future. If this Sacramento Mobile EV Charging Resource Hub is successful, do we see this model replicating?
That's the billion-dollar question, isn't it? Is this the prototype for the Chicago Mobile Hub, the London EV Resource?
Right. Is the future of gas stations not stations at all, but decentralized roving fleets connected by these local digital hubs?
I think we'll see a hybrid, but I suspect the hub model, where a local entity aggregates charging, education, and rescue, will become standard in every major metro area. The grid is too complex and user needs are too diverse for a one-size-fits-all national solution.
It's the return of the local expert.
In a high-tech wrapper.
It's just fascinating to watch this evolution. We started with range anxiety, which is a very internal, fearful concept, and we're ending with resource hubs, which is an external, supportive concept. It really feels like the industry is finally growing up.
It's maturing. It's realizing the car is only 50% of the equation. The ecosystem is the other 50%. And frankly, the ecosystem is where the most interesting problems and the most interesting businesses are going to be found in the next decade.
And where the interesting YouTube channels will be found, apparently.
Apparently. I'll be subscribing.
So here's the takeaway for you listening. Whether you drive an EV or not, pay attention to how these new infrastructure layers are forming. They're rewriting the rules of how we interact with energy. And if you are in Sacramento, well, now you know who to Google if you run out of juice.
SacramentoMobileEVCharging.com.
And don't forget the YouTube channel at Sacramento Mobile EV Charging if you just want to see how the sausage is made.
Or how the battery is charged, I suppose.
There we go. We'll leave it there. Thanks for diving deep with us today. It's a complex world, but hey, at least now we know there's a hub for that.
Drive safe.
Catch you on the next one.